U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
Okay. Now, everybody, further torture. Second Thought gets to tell us about why TikTok's being banned.
Because it makes us gay.
Very gay.
Hey everyone, before we start the video, I need to make a humble request. I don't have any sponsors left because
I don't care.
Hey, you know who doesn't have sponsors and is totally better than this guy? Just give us $1 and your name will be at the bottom of the screen, and you'll help us found our NGO that's supposed to help journalism throughout the world in conflict zones.
Episode.
By the way, this dude always puts something that gets us claimed in his fucking videos. Like, he's so bad about like doing making his videos like safe for other creators.
Oh, you didn't.
Chunk, say the line. You want Trunk to tell you more?
Yeah, Chunk.
We might have people watching this show, but you can be the difference maker because we just need our audience to be paid members, and then this show can be around forever. So you can make that difference. Click join now.
Thanks, Chunk.
Today we're talking about TikTok, the app that started out as people doing funny dances and evolved into one of the most important news sources in history. The app where you can get...
Because I'm already following you.
Fucking hell. One of the most important news sources in history. No.
The Xing Shuffle is here to say.
Lost down a rabbit hole of bore running around set to Nightcore, then get a 60-second masterclass in how the CIA works from a guy who doesn't say a single word. Why does the US government want to ban TikTok so badly?
Oh my god.
Let's find out.
Oh my god.
This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make TikTok better. Tic-tac-toe. A winner.
A winner.
A winner.
A winner.
You just know she practiced that in the mirror and was like, yeah.
Yeah, we said the same thing. You're a bit late.
I like this video more than any other videos he's done because the lighting is normal. Like, it's appropriate to have LEDs around a PC because they be putting LEDs in the PCs and stuff. The rest of the lighting is fucking normal.
That's fire. Okay.
He also didn't do his stupid
Bro
little
just
setup.
threw that iPhone made by slaves.
Politicians aside, where to begin with this whole TikTok saga? I guess let's start with a quick rundown on recent events. And I want to give a disclaimer here right up front. Production for this episode started on March 15th, so I might have to add in an update at some point in the video. I'll let you know if that ends up happening. Anyway, over the last week, Congress advanced federal legislation to force ByteDance, TikTok's parent company, to sell its shares in the US version of the app. If they don't comply, the app will be banned.
Crazy.
Why?
China.
Wait, so what you're telling me is they're not banning TikTok? Yes.
It's because it's a foreign media, and all foreign media in the United States is due to regulation. You know, you can regulate any foreign media in the United States. It's already been set as a precedent, you see. That's why they were instantly able to ban RT when the war broke out.
You have no idea what you're talking about. It's just so embarrassing. At least have some humility.
China.
What nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Also, we have to keep in mind,
my nation in Singapore.
Okay,
no.
The people who are doing this type of stuff in front of cameras are doing it to get on shit like TikTok. They're doing it for their fucking viral moments. For their fucking, you know, to then run at elections and show their voters how fucking based and MAGA pilled they are.
Yes. Yes.
I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in Singapore.
Do you have any other passports from any other nations?
No.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
American politicians and the FBI have long claimed that TikTok
is like one of the dumbest line of questionings I've ever heard.
Okay, first of all,
constitutes
yeah,
a
so
national...
like if I was going to be disingenuous about this, the first person I would bring up is Marco Rubio. He's a fucking idiot. Do you support Trump or Biden? I support Kurdistan.
security risk, that it's a Trojan horse for the Communist Party of China, basically saying that the CPC is using the app to spy on Americans. We'll get to the hypocrisy of that statement in a bit, but first, let's...
Hanky, red flag. Wu Mao, red flags. Called it CPC.
Yes, that's true. But the narrative I don't want them to push is the narrative they think where it's like the algorithm is making our kids gay. That the whole fake American politics narrative of it, right? Like it has like access to data, right? And like people will be like, well, why don't they pass protections on all stuff? Facebook, blah blah blah. It accesses our data and does it, and it's like, yes. They're not saying TikTok can't do that. It's the Chinese government that can't do that, right? These are two different entities. One is a business, one is a government, all right? The business is allowed to do it in capitalist stand, okay? That's all it is. Is that they don't want governments accessing data. They want capital. They want money to be made off that data to generate capital. They don't want it to benefit the Chinese Communist Party, period. That's all it is.
Also, with their little unskippable alarm to access,
I think that was a pretty over the line and brazen.
That is basically a DDoS attack.
Showing that they knew like who your local politician was, like they knew that much information and were able to blackmail you inside their own app. That's pretty fucked.
Yeah, that should have warranted a ban immediately, a temporary suspension at least. But they didn't.
There's a Brazilian who saw the CIA destroy the country by electing Lula. I'm against. The CIA fucking hates Lula, right?
You also know that Bolsonaro's like run to Hungary.
Yeah,
he's abandoned you guys.
Well, it's a conspiracy.
Said, fuck you guys.
No, it's a conspiracy. Everyone's out to get him.
Let's take a brief look at the history of this.
He didn't harass that whale. Fake news.
Back in 2020, Trump made the first attempt to bonk the app by signing an executive order stating that TikTok would be banned in the US if it wasn't sold within 45 days. One White House official said at the time, quote, "This 45-day delay will give Microsoft and other interested purchasers the time to deal with TikTok's owners that adequately addresses the national security concerns posed by the app." No such deals were struck, and after some negotiations, ByteDance agreed to partner with US software giant Oracle to protect
extracts resources.
Yeah, it's like its primary motive. It's resources for cash. Or influence. It's pretty standard.
Data, which is more than a little ironic because 2 years later, Oracle got slapped with a lawsuit for collecting and
like you want to complain about America extracting your resources. Bolsonaro burnt down like a quarter of the Amazon, was it? Or he like chopped down a quarter of the Amazon, a third of it, something like that. Some insane fucking number, like doubling the CO2 emitted by the country because it's like one of the major lungs of the earth. I think that's a bigger concern. But what do I know?
He did get stabbed.
Selling personal data on
millions. Pretty basic. Actually, Lula,
that data included full names, addresses, location details, political views, and online
I think
activity.
that the political
like a bad company
in the generative, relative, regional systems that exist are built around those regional systems to exist. That's why I would never advocate for a Kurdish system to be implicated over all of Iraq or Syria or over Idlib, right? Like the party politics and the things that like there's institutions and all these things, and like even if like somehow Lula could run for president and be elected, like it would be such a bigger long shot than somebody like Bernie Sanders, but he wouldn't be like thrown in jail as opposition, like Trump's.
Yeah.
But
partner with if we care about data privacy.
But to be fair, Trump has hundreds of criminal cases, like 100 criminal charges. So,
bro, I love
it all
this.
comes out.
Bro, I love this.
Every fucking time.
I love this, bro. This is so funny.
Although it's Brazil, I actually don't know. That could actually be a thing in Brazil. I'm not actually sure. Who fucking knows? I'd have to look more into it. We'd have to look more into it. But, if it's like Europe or anything like that, it's like, I don't know. But South America, I'm actually not so sure. So I think we prematurely laughed at that one, but
I just saw ESG and it's funny.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I saw as well, and I had to laugh because it's like every time. Always from Twitch too. I don't know. Can you?
I told you,
okay.
bro. I put it back in
Hold on.
politics.
Hold
I
on.
told you.
Can you send us some sources to our Twitter or Instagram showing implementation of this stuff within Brazil? Please. Same name as we're streaming under on
Yeah,
both
it's right
of the
there at the bottom
platforms.
of the screen.
It's right there. It's right there.
Privacy,
And
right?
if you send it to us in the next 20 minutes, I'll bring it up and put it on screen.
In 2022, we saw the official launch of the $1.5 billion Project Texas, referring to Oracle's Texas headquarters. TikTok began routing all its US user data through Oracle's cloud service, at which point Oracle supposedly vetted the app's algorithms and moderation tools to make sure there was no outside influence from the Chinese government. TikTok was fully compliant, having worked for over a year to partition its US version backend and code for
about TikTok are not that it uses the algorithm to make people communist. This has been like an old conspiracy that they've had, that they've pushed, right? Before there was any discussion of bans or anything like that. I don't know English that well.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, if you send the links,
just give us a link to a source that's about what you're saying with the ESG social credit.
Yeah, a couple of them, please. A couple different ones, just so we can like.
We'll pull them up on screen
check.
and read them.
Yeah. Because I'm actually curious, because I don't actually know that much about Brazil. Maybe they have.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, it's like because of the Portuguese, there's a huge language barrier. Like the resources I have in the rest of South America is just it's nothing. I have nothing in Brazil, basically.
Yeah.
For U.S. corporate approval. Despite the company jumping through all the hoops it was asked to, the Biden admin cranked up the pressure, banning TikTok from all federal U.S. devices in February 2023.
Yeah.
The following month, TikTok CEO
Bro,
Chu was grilled by a panel
can
of
we
US
just talk
politicians.
about can we just talk about what we just said? How they like literally held people hostage and knew their voter information and where they were located. You mean to tell me that it was banned from federal devices? Oh, app that can do
I wonder
that?
why. I couldn't imagine why. I mean, that whole blackmail thing through their app just shows that it should have been banned from government devices immediately, way before it was.
In a hearing more than a little reminiscent of McCarthy-era communist witch hunts. Chu came prepared with relevant data, including the correct assessment that U.S. software has a clear track record of abusing user privacy, while TikTok does not. But that sort of thing doesn't really matter when the panel isn't actually
everyone has a major presence on TikTok, though. It's one of the largest social media platforms right now. And like the amount of garbage on TikTok that floats to the top, you know, and I guess a lot of the more fringe right wing go to more like Rumble and Truth Social, but in general the like young people and like crazy people are on TikTok.
Information. As TikTok spokesperson Brooke Oberbetter reported to U.S. media after the event, quote, "The day was dominated by political grandstanding that failed to acknowledge the real solutions already underway." 2 months later, in May 2023, we began to see the first state-level TikTok bans, with some more extreme than others. The state of Montana was on course to ban the app entirely, threatening ISPs with a $10,000 per day per violation fine for allowing the app to be downloaded. This law was set to go into effect January 1st, 2024, but it got shot down in federal court in November of 2023. And that just about brings us to today. On Wednesday, March 13th, the House passed a bill that will force TikTok to sell to U.S. buyers within 165 days. It wasn't particularly close either, with 352 voting for the ban and just 65 against. What makes this bill particularly interesting is the speed with which it was discussed and sent to a vote. From introduction to floor vote took just 4 days. Funny how politicians will ban the world's most popular app in under a week, but won't give the American people affordable healthcare, or do anything about school shootings, or skyrocketing housing costs, or reproductive rights, or climate change, or the ongoing genocide in which they are complicit. Anyway, Biden has said he'll sign the bill if it passes in the Senate. So there we go, you're all caught up. The question now is, why? Why is the US government so adamant about banning TikTok? They use the China excuse, but China
it's a foreign media.
Us. If anything, we're economically dependent on China for the cheap goods that poorly paid Americans couldn't afford to buy otherwise. Not to mention the fact that if our government actually cared about data privacy, they'd crack down on Facebook or
they
Oracle
don't care
or
about
Google
data
or
privacy.
any number of other US corporations that do the same exact thing.
It's not about data privacy.
It should be clear to anyone paying attention that this was never about data security. So what is it about? Well,
it's a foreign media.
Let's start with one that would be funny if it weren't so scary. Those kids and their dang iPhones.
What? foreign adversary control of what is becoming the dominant news platform for Americans under 30. This is a common sense measure to protect our national security. I urge my colleagues to support this critical bipartisan legislation.
The dominant news platform for Americans under 30. Let's unpack that. The United States relies on propaganda, like any other country, to ensure that its people are getting the information the ruling class wants them to get. In capitalist countries like the US, that propaganda is bought by lobbying groups and powerful corporations, laundered through corrupt politicians, and dutifully repeated on the corporate media and Silicon Valley social media apps. What does it mean for the status quo if the majority of Americans,
Silicon Valley social media apps, as opposed to TikTok,
are not getting their news from state-approved sources? That's a one-way ticket to unrest, to people getting fed up with how bad things have gotten, to protests and marches that the U.S. would rather not have to suppress. When the U.S. ruling class sees an app that is not owned by U.S. oligarchs and tech bros, it immediately becomes a threat because
it's people getting news through non-state approved sources.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, TikTok's not a news app. Fuck yourself.
Can't curate the feeds. They can't tweak the algorithm to prefer State Department talking points. There's a reason Lenin said, "Give me just one generation of life and I'll transform the whole world."
What?
Revolutionaries recognize that the youth are the future.
Bro,
the best way.
How did that work out for Lenin?
State Department talking points aren't showing up on any of my fucking social media. They must be fucking up, I guess. They didn't code it right, I guess.
Either enforce or break the status quo is to win the hearts and minds of the next generation. It shouldn't come as a surprise that the most vocal supporters of Palestinian liberation are young people. They don't get fed pro-Israel propaganda on cable news or Facebook or in the New York Times. I made a video about the U.S. media's complicity in the genocide a couple weeks ago. You can check that out if you'd like to see exactly how this consent manufacturing works. The bottom line in the media aspect of all this...
Also, like...
I'm pretty sure we covered that.
Bro, the last guy was stabbed. If I was Lula, I wouldn't be going out in the street either as the president. like, come on, do you want to get stabbed? That's how you get stabbed.
Is that TikTok is the only widely used media platform that is not directly beholden to the U.S. ruling class. In order to maintain the deeply inhumane and worsening status quo, the U.S. regime must control
the U.S. regime.
Every single aspect of what Americans consider news.
Bro, yes. Bro, yes. TikTok, famously not capitalist. They have no process.
But going back to the young people marching for change, that brings us to the second big reason the US is so eager to ban TikTok. It's becoming inconvenient for the foreign government that actually is meddling in US affairs. Israel.
Oh my god. Oh my, here we go. This PSL narrative.
Remember Mike Gallagher? That guy you saw a couple minutes ago? The one complaining that the kids aren't consuming.
News is being reported on TikTok.
Amazing.
Bro, the app where you can't say like anything, where like the app that literally, you want to talk about algorithms and how they patrol stuff. Look at how they patrol speech in the behind the firewall, right? And it's like they keyword search certain words. And you look at people on TikToks and they're all talking like 5-year-olds with like alternate words and stuff. That's how people talk online in China. Like it's obvious where this metric to patrol and moderate came from, and where these like that has nothing to do with why it's being banned though. I'm just saying, like to think that you're speaking truth to power on TikTok is fucking hysterical. Like you can do it just as good on any app. TikTok just has the biggest audience right now.
Guess who his biggest contributors are. In the 2022 cycle, it was AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, a rabidly pro-Israel and incredibly powerful lobbying group that coincidentally also heavily funds Joe Biden, the man who, for some reason, can't bring himself to stop sending weapons to the rogue state committing the most obvious genocide in modern history. And it's not just these
the same time. We're the United States of America, for God's sake.
Most obvious genocide.
Weapons.
Too. Almost every single U.S. politician has accepted money from the Israel lobby.
AIPAC Political Action Committee, AIPAC-PAC, filed something called a
Joe
statement of
Biden is
organization
completely
with the
against
FEC
Israel. I love
just
this
in time
person
for the
so
2022
much.
election cycle,
This
where it
is my
spent $50
favorite
million,
chatter, guys.
including both direct contributions to candidates and outside spending, like TV advertisements. According to AIPAC, it donated money to 365 candidates from both parties, including every single member
I don't think
of both
this is a
Democratic
freedom of
and
speech
Republican.
issue. Like in theory, right? Even if they spin off and it's American owned, the updates and how the algorithm works is still going to be coming from ByteDance. It's not going to be like an American version of the app. So the algorithm's not going to fucking change.
Also, I'm doing a sign. My mouth is full, but TikTok is banned in China.
Yeah, they
Not
have
sure
their
if
own
you
version.
knew this.
They have their own
TikTok's
version.
banned in China.
They have their own version. This is a moot point.
You have more than enough to hire competent hackers and ruin your competition.
Swallow your food. Holy shit.
Leadership in Congress.
We'll get back to the Israel lobby in a sec, but I also want to highlight that Gallagher's biggest donor in the past election cycle has been Palantir, the software company literally named after an evil orb used by dark forces to spy on people.
Okay, what a fucking loser.
It shouldn't surprise you that Palantir, founded by the notorious Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel, worked with the NSA to create the most comprehensive digital espionage apparatus ever conceived. Palantir was co-created with American spies. One of its earliest investors was the CIA, and the company will not disclose any of its contracts with the government, despite making over $1 billion from these clandestine partnerships.
Crazy.
Forgive me if I'm just a little skeptical about the intentions of this anti-spying bill, given that its main sponsor is funded by the world's largest spying machine. I feel like I need to get out some red string or something. This stuff goes deep. Anyway, back
Bro,
to the
it's
Israel
the
lobby.
CIA
before we
and
go
the
any
FBI
further,
who did the
I think it's important to put a little
investigations. They're
disclaimer
the
here.
ones who are pushing it. Yes. 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 They have FBI reports that they can't make public that they're acting on. Yes. Freedom of Information Act requests that shit, bro.
There are bad actors online trying to weaponize the rightful criticism of Israel to push an anti-Semitic agenda. I'll put it bluntly. If you are one of those people, you will be banned from my comment section on site. You are not welcome here. You cannot equate Zionism with Judaism. The two have nothing to do with each other, as evidenced by the horrific treatment of devout Jews at the hands of the fascist Zionist forces. The only reason some people are confused at the distinction is because it's convenient for the Israeli apartheid regime to conflate Zionism with Judaism. And therefore all their propaganda revolves around trying to get people to think that condemnation of Israel is the same as hatred of Jewish people. This will go down in history as some of the most damaging anti-Semitic propaganda ever devised, and we all need to reject it. All right, we all on the same page? Disclaimer over. Now let's take a look
would
at
have
how
dialed
Israel...
that. I would have ran that by somebody. I would have ran that once. That I would like. I think it's fine. Like, yeah, whatever. We all know. It's supposed
He
to be
doesn't
for
have any sponsors
people that
anymore.
don't know anything, right? But like,
can't
bro,
run it by
I would have ran that one by, and maybe somebody who's been aware of the Nazis or something. Like, come on, bro.
is able to influence this TikTok legislation and why they're so desperate to do it.
You just said one
Here's some quick
of
stats.
the worst.
TikTok has
No,
about
it was
103
the worst. I know
million
that's
active
what he
users
said,
in
but
the
still,
US.
come on,
More than
man.
1 in 3 mobile internet users actively engage
Just say
with the
it's
app. Half of the
anti-Semitic.
user base
Done.
is between the ages of 10
Or
and
just say
29,
modern.
and half the content creators are between 18 and 24. So you've got a massive user base, which also
Okay.
skews quite young. Now look at this. Pro-Palestinian sentiment vastly, and I really mean vastly,
I told you,
outnumbers
bro.
pro-Israel
This is
content.
fucking PSL.
Millions of users.
It's so
This is fucking PSL narrative bullshit.
Millions of posts.
Like we
and
can
endless
debate,
stream of content
like
cataloging and
whether
explaining
it's
Israel's
okay
crimes
for the
against humanity.
government to do this, right? On the merits alone of just like how it has access to data like that, and how they and just like say like, well, they don't care when capitalists do it. That's a fine criticism of the ban, right? But ultimately, I don't really care that much if it's banned or not banned, because it's not going to affect me at all.
Yeah.
But like, if it divests to an American company, like in theory, zero things should change.
If I'm an
It's gonna
Israeli
make
official and I
TikTok
see two
better, a winner.
whole generations of young people rightly condemning my fascist project, I'm going to do everything in my power to shut down that platform. But don't just take it from me. Here's some leaked audio from a phone call with ADL Chief Executive Jonathan Greenblatt.
I also want to point out that we have a major generational problem. All the polling I've seen, ADL's polling, ICC's polling, independent polling, suggests this is not a left-right gap, folks. The issue in the United States' support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And so we really have a TikTok problem, a Gen Z problem, and our community needs to put the same brains that gave us tech lead.
Yes, I'm sure.
All these other amazing innovations need to put our energy towards this, like fast.
Bro, cut to Cory Booker holding up ISIS memes going, they're killing us with these memes.
Again, here we have someone who understands that the next generation will be the determining factor in what the world looks like for the next 50 years. But instead of trying to advocate for positive change or an end to the genocide, the ADL and AIPAC and the rest of the Israel lobby is trying to shut down the people's ability to access vital information about the state of the world.
Yes.
They are actively trying to hide Israeli war crimes because it makes them look bad. So, just in case I haven't been
again, it's
perfectly
baby,
clear,
so it's for babies.
there is
This
a
is
foreign
for
government
babies who
meddling
don't know
in US
anything
affairs.
about this stuff.
It's not China.
So I'll let it go because can't call him stupid for pointing this out because he knows that it's basic information.
It's Israel. This bill was never about China supposedly spying on US citizens. The government doesn't care about that. They haven't even provided any evidence to support their claims. This is just a clear example that the empire is spooked by a media outlet they don't control, they want to force the company to sell so that they can control it, and the process is being expedited because the Israel lobby has enormous sway in our political machinery. Money, corruption, the maintenance of empire. That's all this is. And so there are a few main takeaways from this whole TikTok saga. First, the United States wants to make sure it has a monopoly on collecting and selling our data, as well as a complete control over our media landscape.
Capital.
Second, a genocidal apartheid regime is blatantly meddling in our affairs to prevent people from opposing the genocide. And third, anytime the government tells you they can't move quickly on an issue, they are lying through their teeth. From introduction to vote to the president promising to sign the bill in less than a week. They can pass whatever they want. It just so happens that will never be what we want. They'll move quickly for war or to cover for genocide, but they won't protect our children in school.
Wow, crazy. You mean the 170 million people that use TikTok that don't understand how much of a national security threat it really is wouldn't make it banned?
Bro, also like
Crazy.
the amount of money that they've bought and lobbied inside the government themselves.
Yeah.
Like TikTok is lobbying, bro.
Yeah, and they're still losing. So there's clearly an actual problem here that they found. That's why it's moving so quickly. But no, it has to be this
also partially
narrative,
because they're racist.
Partially. School. They won't codify reproductive rights. They won't do anything about climate change. This is the bottom line when we're talking
these
about
are things
capitalist
that
regimes.
they are
The
split
dominance of
on.
capital is always
You understand? They both agree. They both sides agree that they hate China. Right? I wish both sides agreed that they hated Russia.
100% of the time, the thing that gets government action. AIPAC money, great. Fossil fuel money, great. Pharmaceutical money, great. Improving the lives of their people, walking back from the brink of nuclear war, stopping a genocide, not a chance.
The genocide in Ukraine, you mean?
I always end these videos with a call to action to get organized. Join a socialist organization. Build dual power structures and class consciousness. Mass mobilization is the only thing that's worked in the past, and it's the only thing that'll work today. But I also want people to really think about the world we're living in. This isn't me as a YouTuber trying to make a cool video anymore. This is me as a human being living in 2024 with you. What's it going to take to get Americans to open their eyes to the fact that we are living in a violent, decaying empire that does not care whether we live or die?
Bro,
as long as the
you lived through the Iraq War!
can still squeeze out a profit, they will keep this machine
What
churning
world
until
are
the
we
wheels
in?
fall off and we're all crushed. I'm asking you as a person
There's
now.
an all-time high of distrust against the U.S. government, you fucking idiot! Not even in the Cold War.
Please.
Like the Cold War, they bought all that fucking shit. Hook, line, and sinker, where they were worse and deliberately lying worse.
Follow one of the links in the description and join some socialist organization. I don't care which one. Go to some meetings, see what you think, and then come back to the comments here and tell me which one you chose and what projects your chapter is working on.
As long
That's
as
the
the
only
meetings
way we
involve
build a
you
world
touching
that is
grass.
better than the one we've got now. At the end of the day,
I said as long as the meaties involve them touching grass.
Hey, we're all just people. The ones in charge, the ones banning apps, cracking down on our rights to protest, committing a genocide, they're just people. We outnumber them thousands of times over. They know that. And their main objective is to make sure you don't know that. Well, now you do.
Sure.
What are you going to do about it? You're going to get involved. Right now.
Don't tell me what to do. Fuck yourself. Hold on. Also, just for future reference, just so you're fully aware.
I'm fucking better than you.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?